Welcome to the Leadership in Law podcast with host Marilyn Jenkins. Cut through the noise, get actionable insights and inspiring stories delivered straight to your ears. Your ultimate podcast for navigating the ever-changing world of law firm ownership. In each episode, we dive deep into the critical topics that matter most to you, from unlocking explosive growth to building a thriving team. We connect you with successful firm leaders and industry experts who share their proven strategies and hard-won wisdom. So, whether you're a seasoned leader or just starting your journey as a law firm owner, the Leadership in Law podcast is here to equip you with the knowledge and tools you need to build a successful and fulfilling legal practice.
Welcome to another episode of the Leadership in Law podcast. I'm your host, Marilyn Jenkins. Please join me in welcoming my guest, Steven Scott Eichenblatt, to the show today. Steven is a practicing attorney of more than 30 years, a longtime advocate for children, and a founding partner of Page and Eichenblatt in Orlando. Over the course of his career, Steven has served as a pro bono guardian ad litem, represented families from the first responders killed in 9/11, and earned multiple awards for his commitment to legal excellence and community service. But Steven's story extends far beyond the courtroom. In his new memoir, Pretend They Are Dead, he shares a raw and gripping account of survival, trauma, and resilience, from childhood abandonment and abuse to the long path towards healing and becoming the father he never had. The book weaves his personal history with defining moments of a legal career committed to protecting others. Today, we're exploring Steven's remarkable career, the lessons drawn from his career, and the powerful story behind his memoir. I'm excited to have you here, Steven. Welcome.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. That's a nice introduction. I'm dressed like I'm in winter, like up north. So I'm actually in Orlando. It's cold today. So
It's relative, depending on where you're living.
it is really, absolutely.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about your leadership journey? I know you said you've been practicing for 30 years. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. I actually been practicing 38 years now, which seems insane. Our law firm's we've been together since 1993. We've done really well as a firm and as a team. I started out at an insurance defense firm many years ago, a great firm in Orlando called Zimmerman, Kaiser, and Sutcliffe in 1987. I had met my current law partner, Greg Page, in law school, and we were friends there. And then he wound up at the same firm we were representing insurance companies and Walmart employers, and I got tired of squashing the little people, so to speak, because I was a good defense. I felt like I was a really good defense lawyer because I had a lot of anger inside of me. And during that time, I became a guardian ad litem, started working on behalf of children, eventually switched over to the plaintiff side. Both Greg Page and I were young, sort of naive, and starting our own business because it was just he and I, and trying to get lines of credit from the bank and figuring out what to do and having employees and payroll and all that was quite an experience. Eventually we expanded. We would do all personal injury, wrongful death. We were doing some workers' comp. Don't do that much anymore, but we did expand to involve the commercial practice. So at one point we had probably about 40 people total in the firm, combining the commercial litigation practice and construction practice, like hourly billing plus contingency fee, and did that for about 10 years. And then our commercial partner was getting a lot of flack from his clients about being with the plaintiff's firm. So that became hard. So we separated, and now we're back to Page and Eichenblatt and then our support staff. And we've had a really good time practicing law in a lot of different ways, actually.
I love that. So over the course of the 38 years you've been practicing, when you look back, what kept you grounded and committed to the profession?
Yeah, that's really a great question because our profession has changed so much. It's so much harder right now, especially in Florida, to deal with the insurance companies, the competition of the advertising attorneys. But the thing I think that kept me grounded was the clients. Anytime I felt sorry for myself or got frustrated, I look at some of the clients whose maybe they had lost a child, maybe they were paralyzed, maybe they were brain injured, or just struggling day to day. And I would dig in and realize, listen, I'm helping these people. I got to put any problems I have aside. And they kept it real for me. And during the guardian ad litem stuff, representing these children, and I encourage especially young lawyers out there, you get a lot of satisfaction of going to the courtroom, maybe to the house, interacting with the kids, like you're really helping them and they're looking up to you because they've never met a lawyer before. You're like a foreign entity to
Yeah.
them. And I've gotten to spend a lot of time with kids that I was in GAL from like when they were 6 years old and now they're 30. And so we're still connected. So that's kept me grounded for sure.
And that's got to be
Also,
rewarding.
it definitely, it really is. It's hard though, because they can be a mess. Those family cases and you're the GAL they can get ugly.
Wow. Interesting. And so you actually describe yourself jokingly as almost extinct after such a long run in the law. What do you mean by that? And how has the profession changed you?
Sure. Yeah. What I mean is that in Florida, there are not that many small personal injury firms anymore. I think the advertisers at Morgan and Morgan, which is, they claim, and they probably are the largest personal injury firm in the universe. That's a diatress on there. They started very aggressively advertising 20 years ago. And then some other firms have come along and heavy advertising in Central Florida. So that has certainly affected smaller firms where we're all word of mouth, former clients, people who know us in the community, some limited online things, but the model has changed. Also with the online marketing, it's a totally different kind of marketing. For me, listen, I got money for law school by selling copiers 30 years ago or 40 years ago. And I didn't know anything about copiers, but I really did know how to sell. And I was good at knocking on people's doors, talking to them, just getting to know who they were. And then when we started law practice, before online marketing and all of that, it was the same thing, traditional, go meet the people out in the community, meet other lawyers, shake their hands, meet doctors, remind people who we are and what we do. And now at this point in time, that's probably not the most cost effective or time efficient way to meet people because everything is virtual. And so it's really driven a lot of the smaller firms out. And some of these bigger firms have also taken on the smaller firms. The small firms that's their model, has gotten swallowed up.
They were absorbed. Yeah. So acquisitions.
Right.
Exactly. But keeping up the fight but your community involvement is helping you with keeping your name out there and keeping you known to your particular client base.
One of the things I used to do, not as much now, but that really worked great. I was really compulsive about making sure everybody who called our firm got some kind of correspondence from us, some kind of handwritten note, even if we didn't take the case, just so that in the future, I call them the clients of the future, they would at least maybe call us or think about us, that whole type of mind of awareness thing. And this is a great story. When I was a young lawyer and had lots of hair, and my partner who has hair, but his hair was black, you're like in our 20s and we started the firm. And every once in a while, you get the clients who like, you're too young, we want somebody more experienced. You get that. And now it's the other way. I'm now old and I'm not. But I remember that we would send people thank you cards just for stopping in and put them on like we had our own little newsletter mail out that we did. And this woman came in, she had a really nice case. And I thought she liked me. We connected. I wrote her a nice note. And then I never heard from her again until about 5 years later. She walked in her office without an appointment and she had my handwritten note. And
Wow.
she had my handwritten note. And she said, I really liked you guys, but you were a little young. My daughter got in a catastrophic accident and I really appreciated how you followed up. And I'd like you to come with me and meet with her at the hospital and so forth. And I feel that was the kind of thing that we would do that led to us representing generations of families, people that I'm now representing grandkids of grandfathers who I represented years ago.
Wow.
But I feel like that's gotten lost in all this big advertising, that personal,
The human
the human touch. And we still do it. It still works for a small firm.
Mhm.
There's a lot of different factors that play into that.
Doing something different instead of everything so loud and in your face. And I recently interviewed someone who was talking about customer focused messaging instead of being the same No fee, no win, no win, no fee. The same words. Look at what your customers are looking for, and it sounds like with your personal touch, your community involvement, people know the type of people you are, and people do business who do good business. They just know and trust you.
It's I'm afraid that with AI, we're going to see even less personal touch. It feels like I'm already seeing a lot of that out there, getting letters that or emails. I'm going, okay, this is BS. So this is an AI letter. No,
Those I get a lot of those on LinkedIn messages as well, and you're like, I know no one wrote that.
yeah. And I get it. AI is fantastic. We're certainly using it to our advantage, but there's something about the personal touch. You can never underestimate the value of a handwritten note or just something that still is human to human contact. Still makes a big difference.
And I love that she kept that for 5 years and came back.
Yeah. We have, listen, when you practice 38 years, I literally have a client who's, he is a paraplegic I represented long ago. And I talk to him probably every week. And I think I've represented every single person in his family, at his church, and I don't talk to him every week because on cases we just became really good friends.
Wow.
And that connected me to that network. But look, the phone doesn't ring anymore. It's all emails,
Yes.
right? And it's just a lot harder.
Wow. So let's transition a little bit to your memoir. In your memoir, Pretend They Are Dead, it's incredibly raw and personal. What finally made you decide that now is the moment to tell the story?
And finally, I think part of it was just like I needed to finish it because I'd been working on it so long. It was a goal that I had set. And at one point, I'd had an agent and she retired during COVID. And so I hadn't quite finished it. And then I realized that I was like, I got to get this done. I started it at a time when I had gone through a divorce. I was in a lull period and I just felt like I really wanted to write, journal, do all those things. And I started writing stuff on paper because I had been through a lot of trauma that I never talked about. And I knew I was carrying it inside me and I knew I had to unleash it. And as I started writing, it turned out I was a pretty good writer according to this writing workshop. And I really was able to connect my brain to the paper and get it going. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. You and it's been really cool. Oh, backwards.
And there you are.
Anyway, it's really cool is I've been contacted by so many people like that, not just like reviews, because I've got almost 200 reviews now, but just people in the community that knew me but had no idea what my story was, and some professionals in the community, some judges a few judges who knew me but didn't know me, and just wanted to take me to lunch and sit and hear about the process. And what I've learned is a lot of plaintiffs lawyers, especially I've had similar situations. There's a lot of lawyers who have chips on their shoulders, comes from trauma when they were growing up or whatever it was. Because I've been hearing that story from a lot of people who never shared before, but by me sharing my story, I think it's helped people share theirs.
Yeah, I think it makes it okay when someone sees someone else being vulnerable and telling the story. I agree.
Yeah, it does make it okay, but it was hard to do and hard to put yourself out there.
But like therapy, probably it's probably helpful to work through it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that definitely was. And I've got plenty of material for another book. So
Right.
looking for that too.
The title itself is like stops you in your tracks. What does that mean in the context of your life, and why that title?
The title comes from a magazine article. To give you the quick summary is that my biological father left me when I was a young child, was adopted by a pretty violent, nasty man, wound up getting adopted by him. And years later, and there's a lot of events that happened that I described in my book, including a car accident, a very significant car accident that was catastrophic that I witnessed when I was 16. That turned out to be my biological father, saved his life. Didn't know it was him at
Wow.
that time. It's very intense. And then I started, I worked at these tennis courts, 16 years old, hear this horrible crash. I was the only one there. Guy went through the windshield. I called the police. I'm freaked out because I'd never seen anything like that.
Mhm.
A car crash like that with a guy bleeding from his head. And here I am, just, I don't know what to do. And other than call, but I walked over by the car. There's a bunch of people. An ambulance comes, police comes, get your looky-loos out there. And he was unconscious, and they pulled out his wallet. They pulled out his name and says, "Hey, anybody know this man?" And he said the name, Alan S. Nessel, and that's him on the cover. Alan S. Nessel. That was my biological father, who I didn't know, but I just got on my Schwinn Varsity 10-speed that I loved, and I drove home, and I never told anybody I was there until I was in my 40s. And then years later, to get to the answer to your question, presume they're dead, because it took me a long time to figure out what to do, is when he wound up dying, it was sort of a reunion with him. He was disabled, had brain injury, had lots of problems. He wound up shooting himself with morphine. He died. And I went to the funeral trying to get some kind of closure, trying to figure things out. And I'd been through a lot of trauma in my own, with my adopted father, and he's violent and all that. And trying to figure out, okay, here's my biological father. I'll go just to see if that does anything. While I was there, I found out that he was a writer, like a real writer, and he had written thousands of pages he had thousands of pages that he wrote in single space typed letters to a cousin of his over the course of 30 years. Plus, he'd been published in multiple magazines and won national awards. I had no idea.
Wow.
And so that was part of my journey too in the memoirs, trying to figure out who he was and why he was, and thousands of pages. One of the magazine articles that was sent to me by the cousin that I met at the funeral was called Hello Yellow. And it was a story about the last night my father spent with us, with a drawing of a man with his back to his 3 kids. And he literally tells the story of our last supper together. Right. And he knew he was dropping us off, wasn't coming back, but we didn't know. And in that story, he writes about how he'd gone to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist told him, just pretend they are dead.
Oh my.
And that's what he did. We lived in the same town, lived within 2 or 3 miles from him. I was just a kid, and he never saw me again.
And you lived in the same town?
Lived in the same town, he was a veterinarian, walked by his office a million times. But when you're a kid and things just happen, I wasn't allowed to see him, and I wasn't like banging on his door either. Yeah. But I was the kid, he was the adult. And then going through all the stuff that he wrote, his writing was incredible. I learned what happened in the car accident, and you have to read the book for that. But there was just a lot of insane things that as I was doing the memoir, and the agents were looking at it, and the editors, publishers, and I said, you know what? One thing about this memoir is I have the evidence to back up this. These stories sound so crazy, but they are not only true because I've got all of the evidence that he sent me. I also contacted like former employees of his, did my research to make sure that this really happened. So you don't want to send stories out there that aren't accurate.
No, that's true. Absolutely. And you described burying your pain so deep that it became the feeling of no feeling. What did living that emotional state look like?
It's like looking at a gray wall and trying to figure out how to put color on it. I mentioned I went to my father's funeral. I tried to feel something. My emotions, and I talk about this in my book too, is I've been married 3 times. My third one, my wife now it's fantastic. But my first 2 marriages and some of my other relationships, I was always told, it was always, man, Steve's a great guy, but he's disconnected to his things. Like I had trouble being emotional because I got beat up a lot by my father growing up, and a lot of other things happened, and you just bury your emotions. I bury my feelings, and I'm still working on it, but it helps you when you're a defense lawyer or even a plaintiff's lawyer, because I can tunnel vision, compartmentalize. But really, like when I think about my father's death or my adoptive father's death, I feel nothing, which is less than feeling anger. It's like, I just don't feel anything. I don't feel sorry for them. I don't feel anything.
Very interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting thought, to make it a feeling with no feeling. But yeah. So you've spent decades helping children families and vulnerable people. Do you see that's a connection through your past and the clients that you were trying to serve?
100%. One of the ways growing up that I survived, and it was survival in my house, was I became a big reader. My grades were horrible in school. I graduated from high school with like 2.1, and because I didn't go to class, I was doing drugs and I was defiant. Everything I was supposed to do, I did the opposite, got in a lot of trouble. But I was a great reader, and a lot of the books I read were books that were like Horatio Alger, like the young boy that becomes a rich guy and then helps feed the poor. I
Hmm.
loved those books, and I read a lot about like the Native Americans, and I went to work for the Indians for the Florida Governor's Council on Indian Affairs because I wanted to help them, and I went to Israel because it was this I wanted to help people there. I wanted to join the IDF, and I realized that I wanted to use the energy I had inside of me to help other people, and that law was the way for me to do it. And it's been great. I love helping people, and I love the satisfaction I get from it. I hate fighting with insurance adjusters all day, but I'm good at it. So yes, it definitely my upbringing definitely connected me to where I am now.
Fantastic. And you became a very different kind of father to your own 5 children. And what drove you to your determination to not repeat the past?
That exact is my biological father was left by his own father, and I didn't want to repeat that same pattern because there was a history in my family, for whatever reason, of men taking off. And I didn't want to do that. Plus, I have a heart for kids. I was always the kid that was looking at people playing with their dad, playing catch or whatever it was, and being envious, being jealous, and being shy, like afraid to, hey, can I step in with you? So I wanted to be the dad that was interacting with his kids, that coached the teams. When I grew up, when I played sports, no one ever came to my games. And that's just reality. It's just, I don't feel sorry for myself. I just want to make sure that it's not how my kids felt, that my kids know I'm there for them. I'm probably too soft as a dad, but luckily my kids are all doing really well.
I love that. I love that. So we're obviously going to have a link to the book and show notes. What do you hope readers, especially those who face their own trauma, take from your story?
That you can't spend your life as a victim. You can't spend your life feeling sorry for yourself. Whatever cards you're given, you're very lit. Only you can fix it. Only you can make a decision to just live your life in the past and think about all the bad things that happened, or live your life in the present and future, figure out what you have to do to make yourself better on the inside, and then help everybody else and use that to tell your story.
I love that. And finally, after revisiting your past so publicly with this book, how do you see the next chapter of your life unfolding?
Wow, that's a great question. I'm certainly going to continue practicing law because I do enjoy it. I got a great partner, so we'll keep doing that as long as we can. And then I've been invited to speak at a number of different places about my book, even up at some colleges and some book conferences. And I think that I will probably write another book because people are responding and it seems to be helping people. And I'd like to write something about being a lawyer and practicing and some of that as well. I don't mind saying that my comfort zone. I don't know what direction I'm gonna wind up going in, but I'm up for anything.
Well, if you write that next book, you got to give me a call and come back and we'll talk about that. But that's
Uh,
exciting as far as the speaking engagements and stuff. This has been a really great show. I really have enjoyed talking about your book and about your past and pro, your, oh my gosh, I can't talk,
Actors.
of your growth of your firm. I know my listeners will probably want to reach out to you or follow you. Where would be the best place for them to do that?
The law firm is called Page and Eichenblatt. Eichenblatt sort of spelled Eichemblatt, but I have a website for my book, which is www.stevenscotteichenblatt.com. And Pretend They Are Dead is, that you should be able to get to it on Amazon pretty quickly. But if anybody has any questions and like if listeners about building a law practice, some of the huge mistakes we made, some of the things that were great, or just needs to be encouraged to hang in there, just give me a call.
I love that. So we'll make sure that we have all of those in the show notes. And again, this has been a great opportunity to chat with you. I really appreciate your time today, Stephen.
Thank you so much. It was nice meeting you too. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining me today for this episode. As we wrap up, I'd love for you to do two things. First, subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you find value here, I'd love it if you would rate it and review it. That really does make a difference in helping other people to discover this podcast. Second, you can connect with me on LinkedIn to keep up with what I'm currently learning and thinking about. And if you're ready to take the next step with a digital strategist to help you grow your law firm, I'd be honored to help you. Just go to lawmarketingzone.com to book a call with me. Stay tuned for our next episode next week. Until then, as always, thanks for listening to Leadership in Law Podcast, and be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss the next episode.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Leadership in Law Podcast. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. There's a whole community of law firm owners out there facing similar challenges and striving for the same success. Head over to our website at lawmarketingzone.com. From there, connect with other listeners, access valuable resources, and stay up to date on the latest episodes. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, keep leading with vision and keep growing your firm.